would like to briefly introduce the Maritime Innovation Hub to the media and to the public. Maritime Innovation Hub is a center for maritime activities that seeks to be the anchor and a rallying point. When you say anchor, something that holds a ship together, something that holds the whole different segments together, and a rallying point for series of innovation in maritime economy advocacy, innovations in maritime governance, maritime education and funding, ports operations and management, policy advocacy, government relations, public-private dialogue, infrastructure financing, and ultimately a leading private sector-led think tank for the industry. We will show on the screen some of the things that we've done with the ministry from inception. The Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy is just 2 years old, bifurcated from the Ministry of Transportation. And obviously, at the beginning, they needed to set the agenda. So for those who said, well, what are you people doing? You've not been talking. The Honorable Minister has been working. And we've been part of it from the get-go. So they spent 2024 charting the direction, which is putting up together a policy, which ended last term, by this time last year. It was cascaded to the Federal Executive Council, which was approved in May 2025. And a whole lot of things have been outlined there. Now, what is the role of the private sector? At Maritime Innovations Hub, I have spent 15 years in the industry, and I know that things hasn't been the way it should be because there are too many different splinters in different places. So we connect individuals, organizations, governments, and nations on maritime issues, connecting their beliefs and helping to innovate out of their constraints. At some point, we'll talk about what exactly is innovation. Thankfully, we were working with the department that was set aside specifically for the purpose of innovation within the ministry, and they are right here with us. Innovation means we can't be doing things the way we've been doing it and expecting a different result. Maritime Innovation Hub seeks to explore multidisciplinary approaches in solving complex maritime problems. How many of you people are aware of Apapa? At least in the last 10, 15, 20 years, have you ever been to Apapa? So Apapa can explain the meaning of complex problem, for instance. But somebody took an initiative and said, oh, while we are sorting this, let's look at what can be done. And Lekki Port came to be. And I think this week also there are new approvals in terms of ports and all that, Bakassi, Ondo, and some other things that are happening within the country. If we do not communicate with the media, how do they know what exactly is happening, where Nigeria is heading, and why exactly the purpose of the creation of this ministry? Now, at Maritime Innovations Hub, we turn internal and external boundaries into opportunities for the growth of individuals, organizations, governments, and nations. There is an erroneous belief that government is going to do everything. And government itself has its own problem looking for people to come and do XYZ, which is within locally and internationally. As we stand here today, actually this event came to be because of some funding that needed to come into the country, and I said, I was called back and said, you have to make this happen, and it's as huge as $1 billion, aside some others. So Nigeria has charted a very big part, but then how do we get there? Who had the multidisciplinary and multi-stakeholders involved that has to be on the table? Like I said, today is just a media parley in preparation for where we are going in March. Maritime Innovation Hub seeks to build human, structural, financial, and financial ecosystem. Like I said, there is a need for money. Where are you going to get the money from? There is a need for human beings. Nigeria has experienced jobless growth, rudderless growth for decades. We've always been like that. But exactly what are the people looking for under this administration and beyond? We need to put people at the center of this development, which is one of the reasons why we have brought in the young people into the room. They are not young. They are professionals in their own respect. They've done a lot of things at the highest level. I will reintroduce their DG and the senior special advisor to the president when he comes in, and the role that they are going to be playing. In this room, and while people are still on the way, we have about 10 state governments that already express interest to be part of this. Because at some part of it, we are having state governors mobilizing about 10,000 graduates within their state capital at the event in March to be connected to the center. That's about 370,000 youths, including at the FCT, Why is this necessary? We'll get into that when I'm actually delivering my speech. Why people have to be at the center, particularly when we set a national agenda that we want to achieve a $1 trillion GDP. In 2024, Nigeria rebased its GDP and we're at $250 billion. And thankfully, I'm reporting to some people in the economic management team and say, see, we have 4 years or maximum 10 years. How do we get to this GDP target? How do you get there if people are not at the center? So most of what we're doing puts people at the center of some of this work across the nation. Maritime Innovation Hub seeks to create successful value creation for individuals, organizations, governments, nations through a multi-dimensional construct, often moving in conflicting directions. The company seeks to drive valuable maritime business growth by unlocking value across the maritime value chain through effective stakeholders management and negotiation, just like we are doing here today. Every stakeholder matter. Also in the maritime sector, like I said, I've always seen that sometimes the people that ought to be in the room, we really don't get them in. And we think we are doing things, we are doing everything possible. Why are they not getting it? So that's why we're starting with you, the media. That's why we're starting with those of you in the room this morning. By the time we're finishing, you will tell us more and more people who ought to be here. The diverse group, they are here, they are on their way. I know their chairman or president has landed at the airport. So we will get into those conversations. So we need to create value for people. Maritime Innovation Hub seeks to manage the reputation of the Nigerian maritime industry locally and globally in helping to unlock its full economic potentials that would lead to inclusive growth and job creation for Nigerians, leading to practical increase in the nation's GDP, gross domestic product. We collapse silos. Silos means people working alone in different directions, organizations working in different directions, which collapse silos in all forms and help people amplify their impact as they leverage each other's strengths within the maritime ecosystem. I will continue to use the media as an example because we are here because of them. Now, the media, everybody reads the media online, offline, television. How do you do great things across the whole nation when the media is not there? They are the legs that can run to the place where people can't run to. Also in this room, how do we transport food, for instance, across 28 states that are connected by inland waterways? When NIWA is doing their own thing, and Ministry of Agriculture is not there. Those are just examples. The groups are coming, and probably many of you in this room have never heard about them before. And their ecosystem can create billions of dollars of value. So that is what we're trying to do, collapse silos in all forms and help people amplify their impact. So each one can leverage the strengths of the other. And the ones who have weaknesses, we know how to hold everyone together. At the end of the day, Nigeria is our focus, and the people called Nigerians they also need to be at the center of some of these things. I'm sure many of you here have graduates at home or within your families that need jobs. So exactly all these things that we are saying in the National Economic Plan 2023 to 2031, government said they want to create 50 million people. How? So we'll get into that. So we collapse silos, like I said, and making sure each party leverage each other's strengths. Next, we convene national and global leaders in maritime governance. Exactly what we want to do in March and why we've called this meeting. Maritime businesses, maritime politics, development partners, civil societies, and the academia through hybrid platforms and deliberate dialogue on a quarterly and annual basis on key maritime issues with key outcomes as a primary focus. We also help littoral states within the country build on their competitive edge within the global maritime ecosystem. Lagos is not Abuja. Let me also mention that before the beginning of this administration, on October 4 to 5 specifically, 2022, we had a major event, which was a prelude to what we are now going to do in 2026, where we prepared the ground for this administration and were able to carry the whole Lagos along, and including their local governments, chairmen, Apapa, Lekki, and all that. Interestingly, we call them Conference 57. The new chairman or head happens to be at that event. Olowa is my friend. Is now the chairman of the Conference 57. So, for instance, but we decided to wait. That was what even led us to the ministry. We were coming to fight for Lagos. And the ministry said, no, this cannot be Lagos alone. And they said, yes, but that's the least we can do. And until it became a national thing. And now we've carried state governments along who will cascade to the lowest level. I can tell you so many things are happening in Nigeria that Nigerian youths are not aware, but they don't know. They don't even know how to find themselves within the ecosystem, and somebody has to do that job. Everybody cannot japa. So littoral states and NIWA, they are here today. We'll get into their conversation. So those are part of the things that we do. Maritime Innovation Hub galvanizes maritime stakeholders towards articulating the country's maritime development imperatives in ensuring inclusivity and demographic balancing. I already talked about that. Thus satisfying the need for economic security of both families and nations, political stability, conscientious governance, and environmental stability. We engage in activities that would harness the past, the present, and future of Nigeria's maritime assets in all forms. Let me also mention here that nobody is a hero. Is a hero because there are things that have been done in the past by some people before this administration. There are some things that will be done by this administration, which is the present. When this administration is no longer there, there are some things that will be done by those who will come. But Nigeria's governance kind of system is the one where whatever anybody starts ends when they leave. And another person come and they want to start all over again. And we keep reinventing the wheel. And people have wondered, 111 years of maritime development, what have you people really achieved as a country? And interestingly, just last month, our Honorable Minister took Nigeria back to the IMO platform, the Global Maritime Stage, where maritime decisions are being made, and Nigeria was not there, or hasn't been there for the past 14 years. He's able to pull that off and returning us back to the global stage. So what do we want to do or achieve on that global stage? China, for instance, has been there for 19 consecutive terms. Sweden, South Korea, and all that. So what are these nations doing differently that has given them a permanent seat on this global table? And what do we need to do? We need to harness the past, the present, and the future. And that's what we're doing. We are geared towards setting, I think I'm almost done. That's just setting the pace on what Maritime Innovations Hub does. We are geared towards setting maritime economic agendas for accelerated and inclusive growth, underpinned by sustainable and inclusive development through cutting-edge maritime governance at all levels. We seek to continuously set actionable frameworks for transformative maritime leadership and governance that builds the Nigerian state capacity to deliver the dividends of a maritime nation. It's one thing to have good plans. Nigeria has a vision 2020. At the end, by 2020, where were we? 2030 is looking at us right there. Are we really achieving all those things, or we just want to be running around, So we engage in educational and leadership activities that builds consensus on the imperatives for transforming Nigeria's diverse and immense human capital into a productive and innovative workforce that actively contributes to the growth and development of the nation's GDP. Finally, we seek to be that one-stop shop where the teeming young and unemployed Nigerians can walk into and get treatment for their career problems whenever they are stuck and do not know where else to go. We did that. We set up a center at the heart of Apapa. We set up another center in Ajah. We were working on the Badagry. And then because Lagos was at least 70% of maritime activities in the country, and we wanted to use that as a template for other states to follow, but there was a need in the last 2 years for us to slow down a bit and to allow things take shape more at the federal level. But young people always have been disadvantaged in this sector, and we are consciously bringing them back on board. Like I said, we have all our platforms and all our structures for that. So we want to invest in the physical, financial, digital, technological, and innovative infrastructures that supports the building and development of Nigeria's human assets in the maritime ecosystem. I think we will show something on the screen later that shows what the maritime ecosystem is really all about, so that people can see how huge and massive it is, and understand why millions of people are to be onboarded into it. We want to build transformational leadership capacities at all levels of governance in the maritime space, thus reframing the agenda for maritime transformational leadership. Also, working with local and global partners in mainstreaming the SDGs across the Nigerian maritime industry. UN Women, are they here? Somebody is supposed to be representing the country director. She's busy with the First Lady this morning. We've done some work with them on mainstreaming gender inclusion across the sector. We got IMO approval for the first phase of execution 2023 to 2027. Again, we're working across the entire country because the sector has 2% women representation, 98% male dominated. Over the next few years, how do we ensure a very large proportion of women, young and old, have career opportunities at all levels within the sector? So that work is already ongoing with the UN Women. They said they're going to be here this morning. So finally, we supervise technical, operational, commercial, quality assurance, and dry docking management of maritime assets in all its ramifications.
Okay, so overview of the media Parley objectives. Now, this particular segment, talks about the ways that we can strengthen collaboration, between the maritime sector and the media. So this time around, I'd like again to call on the CEO of Maritime Innovation, or Princess Roke Kosoko, again to do justice to this topic. Please, let's give her a welcome applause.
This presentation is very important because this is the reason why we are here. As part of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's vision of achieving a $1 trillion economy, investment mobilization is very key and has been a priority for Nigeria. As much as we are focused on investment, innovators are also very important to keep thinking outside the box, outside of the nation's endless constraints. But when purpose is not known, abuse becomes inevitable. So it is very fundamental that we define our purpose for being here right from the get-go. So this is not just an event, it is a movement. I personally do not do events anymore because I have attended so much of it in the past 15 years and it didn't change anything really for me. Because talk is cheap, but execution is very expensive. Not too many people can afford it. Just not too many people can execute. In 2010, when I came into the industry, we came in with so much enthusiasm. As a young economist graduate, that Nigeria could create 20 million jobs. That Nigeria could create 20 million jobs within the sector, but 15 years later, we didn't see 1 million jobs. In the same 2010, due to the same enthusiasm that we met on the ground as new entrants, then the Local Content Act was enacted in April 2010 by then President Goodluck Jonathan administration. My first job between October to December 2010 was communications management for the first gathering of a summit like this, a platform like this. Then, the then Minister for Transportation, Mr. Yusuf Suleiman, gave the industry so much support, vehicle, office, a shippers council, money, fanfare. I was there. I handled the communication. But as soon as they finished that first expo and summit, fight started. The people started fighting for money, recognition, and opportunity to be chairman of planning committee. So the platform died. Factions emerged and the industry agenda fell through. I remember then the Minister for Interior, Captain Emmanuel Iheanacho, is still very active now, holds close to 80, called me and said, why are you doing this event? I was not part of it. I was shaking that the minister was calling 15 years ago. Today, I sit on the table with the minister. But so things like this has happened before. So what is going to be new this time? I say also the then minister had a spat with the then DG at the MASA. If you are very conversant with the ministry, every 6 months we change the MASA DG, 9 months and all that. So in less than 6 months, another minister was fired. We had a new minister, Senator Audu Idris Umar. By September 2011, some breakaway faction, after the fight and media onslaught against one another, then decided to move forward with the resolution from the March 2011 event by creating another alternative platform. I was again contacted to go organize a meeting of 200 last standing master mariners and marine engineers in the country, last 200. The youngest of them then was 60 years old. So they said we should fashion a way forward for human capital development for the sector, amongst many other issues. And I still have videos from that event because I organized it in Badagry, Ascom. Like I said, the people then, the youngest was 60 years old. And they call themselves the dying generation. So many of them in their 70s are died now. And they died with all their knowledge, without transferring it to anybody. At some point, I will observe a minute silence for industry elders like Captain Omotosho, Engineer Lex Peters, Captain Yaguan, Engineer Olusoji, Sir Peter Olorunfemi, Otobakunle Folarin. When you come to the marine industry, people have knowledge, and we are sometimes very proud of it. But the younger generation doesn't even know. It's only us who knows. May their souls rest in peace. Fast forward to 15 years later, 2025. The same remnants of the same dying generation who couldn't get anything done for free, anybody for those years, are back in play under this administration. They have kept themselves at the front like Robert Mugabe, and they said they are the future of the industry. So you've seen some videos of what we did, the Honorable Minister. So when I was called to onboard His Excellency Adegboyega Isiaka Oyetola's administration in November 2023, I was vehemently attacked. And the minister was confused about the attack and gave some elderly counsel, which I held very dearly. So many of the industry professionals, some of them are online, some in London, some are in the US right now. As I speak, they are connected to this program, began to call. Although they were not at the forefront then, they were calling to express their fears, hoping the minister was not going to be boxed by these same people who have held the industry by the jugular over the years. And I tried my best to balance the room amidst the crisis. Just like I'm doing today, I created the opportunity for the right people to be on the table, and the minister, so that the minister could start off very well. You saw that. It took us 72 hours to organize that event. Early morning, 7 a.m., people were trooping in. And it got started without the entanglement of the industry politics, which wasn't leading anybody anywhere. And he stood for a whole day. Can you please play that video? These things are very, very important. He stood for the whole day. He was going from table to table, table to table. He was going from table to table, listening to different sectors of the industry and paying attention. That is His Excellency Oyetola himself. 15 years, like I said, you can pause, we can continue from there. We'll have enough time to play video, just pause. In 15 years, I've never seen a minister, and I'm not praising him. In the last 1 month, he's been busy at IMO Oshun. Oshun last night, then Lagos, one of our HID is celebrating his mom's birthday. I'm trying to track him in the hair. He's just called the secretary. But we've done a lot of things with him that we've shown evidence. So, but like I said, what he did was very different, because once minister comes, they deliver their speech and they leave with their entourage, and you're on your own as industry people. So ministers really don't know what people are deliberating about. So it was a complete departure from the norm. Like I said, many deliberations usually happen behind the minister, and they give them reports. So he sat down through, and he's been doing that. Next tomorrow we have the industry stakeholders roundtable Q4. You will see him, he will sit down there. And that has helped, because he's been able to listen in and know when they step out of that place. Sometimes he say, call those people and then see me, and he's arranging the meeting right there. So he's been very proactive. But I also remember him emphasizing the importance of the private sector from the get-go. But the industry politician prevailed in some way, and I removed myself from that front row and kept watching, because that impact was going to tell on Tinubu's administration. We have been recycling old ideas by this Robert Mugabe generation. But innovation and strategic execution is what the Tinubu administration needs, which has to be matched with the appropriate energies. To meet up with a $750 billion gap in 4 years, we need to quadruple our execution level as a nation, with our 2 legs on the ground and all hands on deck, both young and old. And he has been able to weather the storm effectively for the last 2 years. Please permit me to stop at this point to emphasize the reason why we invited you, sir, SSA, to the president on social media. You are one person that the president appointed without anybody lobbying on your behalf. You can go and check records. When the president was sworn in, the first 3 appointments that he made and announced, Mr. Dada Olusegun was one of those 3. Why was he appointed? He was appointed based on his results, execution, the things that he has done. Before that time, I read on social media when he was bullied by the seemingly young generation. And I was surprised when the president made his first announcement and it was one of the three. What does that mean? It means the younger generation is important to him. And the work that they have done, they did some events some months ago, they can deliver the president by themselves. So based on the work that they have been doing to help amplify our industry sector, is the reason why they've been invited. I will rush through my speech and he will come on stage because he has a flight to catch, then we'll continue with the next. Like I said, I'd initially been privileged to host the Honorable Minister at Nest 29 when a few weeks later we were called to organize this, which we did. One of the issues that we focused on was the state of our ports, which has now led to the $1 billion port rehabilitation project across the country, eastern, western, southern ports. So the ministry have started with just a few days ago, the last FEC on Wednesday or Tuesday or Wednesday, the president also approved the Bakassi deep sea port and the Ondo. In February is going to be in Ondo State commissioning that just like we have Lekki deep sea port. So are jobs going to be created? Yes. I'm fast forwarding now. Also, please show the visitation of the minister. On July 11, 2024, at the humble invitation of our company, the Honorable Minister again delivered a keynote address on the Blue Career Insights at the UNILAG Employment Clinic Education to Employment Transition Program at the University of Lagos. University of Lagos has had a department for marine studies for 50 years. The people who built the university in 1960-something built a department of medicine, but it was never used. It was never utilized. So we broke that and we took the minister there to complete a building, which was funded by NIMASA, who completed, and now programs are ongoing. When the IMO Secretary General visited in October 2025, he visited our school. We are able to break, so we are not talking stories, we are doing the things we say we are going to do, we are just taking it further, and evidence don't lie. So when the IMO Secretary General came, as part of the things he went to see in the country was UNILAG. And 2 weeks ago, Nigeria won after 14 years of failure on the International Maritime Organization platform. And we brought ourselves back to category C on the global maritime stage. In a nutshell, we've had a series of in-house intervention with the government over the last 2 years that has led us here. So can things be done better? How far have we fared? Are we operating at our peak? And what is the next thing to be done? Why are we here? Again, before the inception of this administration, before the election ever took place, the president had a plan. I was already making a case to one of the people in the now economic management team about the things that they should focus on when we get into power. So the president gave a marching order to develop a 2023 to 2031 economic plan. And I was called and I was asked some questions with instructions to go and get ready for the work. That team was led by the now central bank governor. And like I said, it's part of the reason why I'm here, because of the things he's put me on. Because we have a $750 billion gap we have to fill. And this sector is going to play a critical role. I remember my headache on that day. But in that plan, $1 trillion GDP. Creation of 50 million jobs. How? Reform the economy. Broaden the tax base. Remove subsidies. And right on the inauguration ground, the president started implementing those plans. So now let's talk data. And I'll just use one country, Indonesia and Nigeria. In 1997, Indonesia's GDP was 260 billion, now it's 281 million. Nigeria population there was 114 million, now 232 million. Status says IMF data. So meaning Indonesia achieved 5.5 times of Nigeria's GDP in 2024. So a $1 trillion GDP economy is achievable. But we have a $750 billion gap. Part of the reason marine and blue economy is created. So how do we fill this gap? What role we want to play? We can start the conversation from there. This week again, the president quickly stimulated Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway, Sokoto-Badagry Coastal Highway. And this week, just on Friday, the Minister for Works, Engineer Dave Umahi, opened the first phase. What does all this mean to marine and blue economy, the media, and the people in the room? It means they have set the stage for some of these things, but how do you and I fit in? As a college student between 1999 to 2002, I usually follow them to Bar Beach in Lagos, when the waters would cut away hundreds of palm trees overnight and then surge towards the bank across the road. So I didn't want to get lost so that they won't tell my parents that the sea had carried me away. So I stopped going to beach parties. But today, the same place has become Eko Atlantic with 14 bridges, shipbuilding facilities, skyscrapers, apartment offices, all being built by multinationals, banks, embassies, and now the Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway has happened from the same place upwards. New ecosystems that generations unborn will come to benefit from. All made happen by the brain of one man, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR. Again, it is no longer news that Nigeria is presently losing millions to Lome, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, as vessels now prefer to bet in those countries rather than coming to Nigeria. And those smaller countries studied our weaknesses and they built a whole business around Nigeria's failure. So the shipping lines moved to smaller African countries. So Nigeria will go there and does transshipment and smuggling. This particular conversation is very dear to the heart of the technical advisor to the Honorable Minister, and we are driving that right from the Minister's office and the ministry. Ministry people are here, the director is on this way. So they have given us a mandate to ensure that we all roll our sleeves in wrestling. Some of you are here, you heard the TA, he said we need to wrestle back these lost opportunities to Nigeria. Or how do we be our giants and we are struggling with Lome? The BlackRock billionaire and investor, Mr. Adebayo Ogunlesi, interestingly paid a court visit on the president in October, and he apologized that his sports investments are in Lome, Togo. So the president said, bring those investments back. But as an investor, he's invested in Gatwick Airport and all that. Why didn't he bring his investments into Nigeria? Those are some of the issues we need to address at the summit. Why? Because there are 10 or 20 of Adebayo Ogunlesi out there whose monies are waiting. Like I said, I was called back to ensure the facilitation of a $1 billion funding back. I think there's somebody online who will be talking about the things he was trying to do and how it fell through. So we have about $1.3 billion investment on the table that has to come back for jobs to be created. So in response to our presentation at the ministry, the technical head to the Honorable Minister at one of the meetings talked about the priority investment area of port modernization and also voiced his concern over the proliferation of ports, greenfield projects, initiatives without an integrated or completed system, and stressed the need for a fresh comprehensive review of all these Nigerian ports then to ensure both efficiency and strategic alignment. All this work must be led by the government, working with non-partisan private sector-led platform who understands the assignment, and the work is now ongoing. MPA, they are in the room, meant to address infrastructure deficits and the growing mismatch between global shipping trends towards larger vessels and Nigeria's current capacity. Like I said, the president on Wednesday approved Ondo. We're there in February. Bakassi, the sea borders between Calabar and the northern part of the country. So from what I know, the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is not an emotional gymnastics, but a man of intellectual substance who is expecting more from all of us in this room, and the ministry particularly beyond your stakeholders roundtable every month. I've talked about what we are targeting, closing the gap. So when we set a target of $1 trillion by GDP, within the same period they say we should create 50 million jobs. How is that possible when we cannot even show workings for 1 million jobs? So this is more than an event for us, and House is not a platform for beautiful speeches, but a platform for execution over the next decade, because our policy has been approved for the next decade. I'm trying to pull through. So investment opportunities in the marine and blue economy. We all have data of our coastline economic zone of over 200 nautical miles, untapped potentials, maritime transport, fisheries, aquaculture, offshore, energy, tourism, marine technology. But globally, the blue economy is projected to reach over $3 trillion in 2030, 4 years from now. Nigeria's strategic location as West Africa's maritime hub positions it to harness substantial socio-economic benefits. But realizing this potential requires coordinated efforts to unlock investment opportunities, strengthen institutional frameworks, reform systemic inefficiencies in the port ecosystem, and trade facilitation, reduce logistic costs, and limit competitiveness. So, the proposed Blue Economic Investment Summit seeks to convene policymakers, investors, development partners, academia, global and local private sector players to chart a clear roadmap for sustainable investment, innovation, attract investors, and reforms across Nigeria's maritime coastal sector. Again, I'll come back to this part of the room on what we have done, the people we have invited every single state governor in this country, because 28 of those states cut across inland waterways. And inland, Niwa, that's why you are here. You are part of the committee. We can't be talking plenty English when we cannot even remove bottlenecks internally. So 28 governors are important to this conversation in different ecosystems. Like I said, the same 28 states have young people who are looking for jobs, and everybody has a competitive advantage. Honestly, the Rivers State governor was really on our neck, but they are very busy commissioning projects and all that. So in the March event, I think there's a presentation that's going to show that. You're going to see all who and who is on the table already and why you are being called. So despite our current status of the Nigerian economy, there are gaps. So the summit objective is to showcase investment across the Nigeria's blue economy value chain, facilitate dialogue on policy and regulatory reforms for sustainable maritime development, develop an actionable framework to improve port efficiency, trade logistics, connectivity, and coastal infrastructure. Ondo State has the largest bitumen in the world. Ondo State is a littoral state. Their port is coming up. How do you move things from Ondo State now, for instance, to Ogun without necessarily passing through the road? I was shocked when the TA mentioned that the largest bitumen in the world. And you will hear some presentation during that time where you see some countries where they made over $300 billion over the GDP of Nigeria as a nation just from their solid minerals exploitation alone. Another part of it, inland waterways. It's very easy for me to buy things from London, America, and it gets to my door. I only go to ABC to carry them. I can't order clothes from Adamawa. I can't order clothes from Abeokuta on my phone. I can't do so many things within Nigeria. So how do you want to create a $1 trillion GDP when we can't even link 28 states? What exactly did Lord Lugard, Sovio Adewale is your brother, what did he see in Lokoja that made him to network Lokoja to the whole world and was taking all our things out of the country and built trade and generated so much money and created Nigeria out of the water ecosystem? And for 111 years after that, we can't even get these things done internally. Those are the structural bottlenecks that this particular platform has been set to address. Because if you do not address them, at the point you will get into your own session where you'll be talking about where we need to put money into so that money can be doubled. So I don't want to bore you with the thematic sessions. You will have all the paper. But why are we here? We are here for execution. There are about 5 thematic sessions: port sector efficiency and trade facilitation, shipbuilding, repairs and maritime industrialization, sustainable fisheries and aquaculture development, coastal and maritime tourism, financing the blue economy. How much money do we need? Where do we need to get the money from? When people come with their investment into Nigeria, do they have to struggle 1 year, 2 years at your door before they get simple things done? But like I said, theme 6, human capital development, it's enough time to really get young people on board. So our focus on that is to practically onboard 1 million young Nigerians into the sector across 36 states of the Federation and the FCT, to fund, to train, to mentor them, to protect them, to handle them into their future within the next decade, leveraging tracer studies to keep them active in contributing to the actualization of the $1 trillion GDP and job creation agenda of the federal and state governments. And finally, to mainstream gender inclusion in the maritime industry. Like I said, most of these things we've done them halfway. We have a 5-year approval IMO between us and UN Women for execution for 2023 to 2027 in its first phase. The country director is busy with the first lady today on another project. So we get into the basics later, but that is a summary of why we are here. For NIWA, projected key investment areas have been obtained from you in order to match investors with their agencies' identified areas of need that will close up existing investment gaps already identified by the agency. So it is a forum for investment blocks to fund projects with transformative potential that would reposition Nigeria's blue economy by also integrating cutting-edge marine technologies into port projects that aligns with global trends and secure competitive advantage. Okay, MICT, you are there. Also, this is very important. Sometimes last year, and I need PBAT Media Center to listen to this, Nigeria acquired an extended continental shelf in the Gulf of Guinea. What does that mean to a layman, a Nigerian youth? That ecosystem is 5 times the size of our present Lagos. Like water. That is like water space in a layman language, that is like 5 times the size of Lagos. Nigeria fought on the international level for some years and got that approval. So as small as Lagos is times 5, you have opportunities under that water that other nations have used to develop their nation, and they say you have that approval, it's your own, go and mine it. Meaning you can create all these things that you want from there. But how does a young person understand it? What kind of manpower are we building for that ecosystem? Does the Nigerian youth understand these things and how it affects their future? The new marine frontiers that will open up as a result of the opening up of Lagos Calabar Coastal Highway and Sokoto Badagry Highway, do they understand how to position? Meanwhile, your new businesses are going to open up in that ecosystem, like Eco launched Omi Eco. People will be able to move from Bakassi to Oro to Tinapa and all that. So we are going to have too many things coming up. But how the questions is, these are the questions that we have already provided answers to, but are we communicating on the right platform? Most of these things will be communicating on that platform, the event that you and I are going to be working on. So far, 36 state governors and the FC minister has been invited for the harmonization of their marine activities with that of the federal government for effective communication. NIPC, you are here. NEPC, Nexim has called Sealing Group. The madam has a personal tragedy. She traveled. World Bank, AFDB, NIDCOM, Bank of Industry, Bank of Agriculture, Canadian and American Embassy, as we compare notes on best practices with those countries. I've mentioned Guangdong, CDCU, and all that. Agencies and departments of the Federal Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy have also received their letter. The last phase is on the dashboard of the minister, but like I said, between last night and this morning, I've not been able to get across to them, but no problem at all. So providers of ports and shipping services, terminal operators, shipping company, consumers of ports and shipping services, shippers, freight forwarders, agencies, and departments of the Federal Ministry of Transportation, Nexim, Afrexim, Sealink, commercial banks, insurance organizations, and all that. Even the police, the Nigerian police force, and all that. So we will be addressing systemic inefficiency in the port ecosystem, which will reduce logistics costs in Nigeria by 20 to 30%, creation of over 500,000 jobs in port operations, logistics, and allied sectors, and to increase GDP contribution of the maritime sector from 3 to 7% within 5 years. Like I said, that job part has been stories, talk for 15 years. Are there jobs? Yes. Are people getting it? No. And I'll give you a very quick example and I'll round up. Before the administration, when we were doing this and we set up a center in Apapa and Lekki and working on Badagry, do you know Lekki Port came to Apapa and carried their staff and tripled salary. They tripled salary and the port operators began to like, Rocky, they've taken our stuff. It means there are jobs, but nobody has the time to be training your people as a country. You train them is your personal problem. You don't train them, there are Chinese, there are Indians, there are Portuguese, there are Filipinos who will readily take the job because their country is developing them with a trend, global trend. That's exactly where the gap is. So now they've approved Bakassi, they've approved Ondo, Lekki Port is still here, and some other things are still happening. The jobs are there, and that's why you see Nigerians, they hold their hands at the back doing Hagbero when they are major colleagues, smaller people are taking their jobs and you call them expatriates, they are shaking around. I'm committed to reverting that and we put money where our mouth is. We secured $100 million funding that was meant to help 20,000 youth across 20 states. We wanted to take 1,000 pilots across 20 states. What happened? I won't say that here, but we are reorganizing on that. It was because of systemic inefficiency and that money went somewhere else. So in conclusion, the Blue Economy Investment Summit represents a timely opportunity to reposition Nigeria as a maritime powerhouse in Africa. We should now leverage our win at the IMO back to Category C after a 14-year hiatus by developing every aspect of the industry simultaneously and not just by picking the areas or people that align with our myopic personal interest against national interest. So we can move from Category B to C to B and B to A within the decade because the nations that are doing it, they do not have two heads. Like I said earlier, I'm closing up. China has been consistent on Category A for 19 consecutive terms, so they know how to win. Same with Liberia and African countries, so we can as Nigeria. By addressing systemic inefficiency, fostering innovation, unlocking private investment, Nigeria can sustainably harness its ocean and coastal resources to drive inclusive growth, employment, and competitiveness in the global maritime landscape. But we cannot. We cannot, in capital letters, do that without the skills, knowledge, character, and innovation. Sorry, without skills, knowledge, character, and innovation. Not just a handful of young people like myself, selected by the fathers or political fathers, pushed to the table to continue to represent their fathers' unfulfilled dreams on government tables, but an avalanche of youth that we will intentionally build their capacities, fund them, like I said, mentor them, protect them, allow them question us, and not make them robots. Because that is what the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has done and has gotten him here, but many people are not getting it. Proofs abound that most of his men were taken up in their 20s and in their 30s, and today they are in their 60s and 70s and still adding value to the system that built them. So how do we expect to build a $1 trillion economy with sentiment where people are afraid to put their intelligent ones on the table, at the center of the table? How many races can these 70, 80-year-olds run? Really? How many new ideas do they have or are open to? Where do we get the energies to run this race across the nation, 36 states, if we don't consciously build the next generation? So we are moving the president and the minister in doing the right thing in this regard, and details will be unfolded at the main event in March. And this informs part of the reason, like I said, that why we've invited the PBAS Media Center into the room. Once again, I thank you to coming. Finally. Yes, that is why we are here. It's a media party. It's not a party for talking. Like I said, I've been privileged to build my career from the first step of the ladder to the topmost up today, where I work with the federal government, not only in Nigeria, but even in other countries, across nations. Even this administration offered me a board appointment at the Nigerian Shippers Council, which I accepted, but barely a month later, I had to decline because I was going to be away for a year or two. I wanted to go and do some other things, have a master's and set my PhD in motion, attend to family issues. Then another call came from the US with a mandate to ensure $1 billion or $3 billion. I didn't know the person was in the US. Like I said, he's in the economic management team. And I was playing, I was cooking. And I had to, in 1 week, change my entire life, including my medical plans and all that. And said, that's why we are back here with you, the ministry. I'd already dropped it off. Thank you, Chukwudi, for picking this up. So we have a particular fund that has to come in, and I needed to organize the minister and the heads of agencies. And there has to be structure within the system, which brings everybody, NIWA, MPA, and all that. So that's why I had pulled myself to be able to do this again. Say, oh, wahala. Or how will I tell the president or the minister or that person that say, I can't make it happen? I say, if it's execution, talk to that lady. And they came. They came on June 25. They came to Nigeria, and they are coming back in March. They'll be meeting the president, they'll be meeting the minister, they'll be meeting the central bank governor. So it's not story. Part of why we've called it, where exactly do we need to put money, MPA, NIWA, and all that. So this is not story. Like I said, I had to take permission for a week to reconsider my options, and I go back to the minister, go back to the authorities, and all that will be concluded in March. So some of these organizations also want to fund our youth. They want to support their startups. They want to fund their innovative ideas. So why should we deny them that opportunity? Because of our own parochial interest. Like I said, we already lost an opportunity for 20,000 youth that came in from a particular country and from the prime minister office of that country. The expatriate is supposed to be here, but we'll explain later. So we can't continue to call on the president to come and do what he has already given us the responsibility and power to do. So we need to reassess our capacities to deliver as a nation, beyond the capacity for delivering beautiful speeches. So media, you have been called on purpose, and everybody in the room. And to the government, it is not our responsibility as a government, as a private sector. This was funded by private sector. We are not complaining. The event is going to be funded. But at the same time, we need to understand the administration that we are working with or working for. That it is not our responsibility really to help government look for money in the face of dwindling economic fortunes and budgets. Why? Because the now president and formerly governor of Lagos State moved IGR from 7.2 billion, 600 million naira monthly, to over 4.2 trillion. That is 58,333% increase in 25 years by doing certain things that made people and organizations to start bringing their monies and investment to Lagos. Just this week, they say another investor is coming to invest in a refinery. I said, do you want to kill us in Lagos? We're already full. So why is this money coming in? Somebody did something from 7.2 billion and it's just sitting there. And these things are galloping. And I know the CBN governor said, we don't care, every work that we did in Lagos, we did it in our first 4 years. So what did they do in first 4 years that catapulted Lagos? 25 years later, the growth is not stopping, which is what they are trying to repeat at the federal level. But you have 36 states. We need to go to those 36 states. So inland waterways has to work across 26 states and all that. So, like I said, there was a forceful expansion. Other 35 states had to catch up. Some are trying, so we need to harmonize. And like I said, we are reporting to people who are at the highest level, even beyond the ministerial level. They told me, we don't understand the industry, but go and do the work and be telling us what we need to do from the top. So you be doing it with the people. And I can't do it alone, so I've come to call everybody. And I think I will stop there. People have dragged me back from my appointments, from my personal family life and all that. So I have also come to drag you so that we can all continue to drag ourselves and we can continue to show the map. And the president should tell us we should not sleep. So I can drag Mr. Dadolusegun to that he will not sleep until he delivers the youth. And when I say there is money, yes, I can cause trouble sometimes. And my minister is tired of me. I say, sir, your excellency, this has to be done. And I carry my haluta there and he will answer me. And when I do the work, sir, if it's not convenient, I will just go away. I say, don't worry, I will not talk to your guy. He's not in a good mood. We need to do it because it's our generation that is at stake.
The special assistant to His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on social media, Mr. Olusegun Dada, is here, and we are really honored to have him here despite his busy schedule, and he has to catch a flight. He has a very important event to attend to, so which is why we will need to bring him now to have a speech.
I've been following our activities from as far back as 2013, when I was just telling a friend, one of the people who were sitting together, that she was one of the first people that made CVs, digitizing CVs for young people, an actual thing on social media before it became something that every other person jumped into. And for that and for many more, I am appreciative for all you do. I'm grateful for, and I'm also grateful on behalf of Mr. President that you have decided to honor your nation, that you decided to honor your country by coming back to give us what you've learned, to apply them in what is our motherland, because at the end of the day we don't have any other place except this country of ours. I would like to speak of, from my own, because personally I find it very refreshing that I'm in a room with not just policymakers, but with storytellers, with journalists, creators, influencers, digital communicators. And if we are being honest, there is no policy today in Nigeria that moves without you helping it to move. The blue economy is one of the most exciting opportunities Nigeria has right now, but this challenge is simple. Many Nigerians hear blue economy and immediately tune out. It sounds big, it sounds technical, and it sounds distant from their daily reality. My job as special assistant to the president on social media is to help bridge that gap, is to turn serious policies into conversations that people care about, or people understand and also share. I will therefore be speaking on 5 roadmaps to adequately leverage on digital platforms and social media for blue economy advocacy, with the ultimate aim of engaging Nigeria's youth in Nigeria's maritime transformation. As I will take the first one, as my brother has stated earlier, when he was doing the introduction, earlier this year, we had an event, basically learning from what already works. Earlier this year, we had an event in August. That event held for 3 days in Abuja, and it was titled the Digital Media Summit, the Progressive Digital Media Summit. It had a collaboration or cooperation of over 4,000 participants in person, and over 25,000 people tuned in from all around the world to be a part of the program for the 2 days. Mr. President, let me quickly reference for those that are already familiar with it. The summit was proof that government intentionally engages the digital ecosystem. The results are powerful. The conversations before, during, and after the summit were organic, they were youth driven, and nationwide. The content trended not because it was forced, but because people felt included. Most importantly, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, my boss, attended this summit and gave a very clear mandate that all ministries, departments of government must collaborate with my office, to project the renewed hope agenda, not just the policies, but project, opportunity, and impact stories. The directive recognizes a real new reality. Digital media is no longer an afterthought. It is central to governance. Secondly, making maritime content interesting for young people. As we are aware today's Nigeria has over 70% of the population under the age of 40 years of age, which means that predominantly every audience you will be interacting with will be an audience of young people. And one thing we know for certain, and let us be very, very honest with ourselves. Sometimes like this morning, one of the reasons I came late is that you may not realize it, but we actually have a briefing for Mr. President every Monday, where we sit down with him, discuss the matters of the past week, give him feedback, honest feedback on what the people are saying, on our policies, on our projects, on our accomplishments, on the areas where we need to have a little bit of detour. And one thing I've come to understand is that this president deliberately picked a lot of, like Madam Roker said earlier, a lot of his people who worked with him 2 decades ago. But he also gave an opportunity for young people to be in his government. And one of the things we do every Monday is that we go through the week, we talk to the president about what has happened, what the major issues concerning the nation are, and how we can, look at some policies that are generating, some issues, figure out how we can flip it or review it. And you would see one of the major things that this administration is not afraid to do is that we're not afraid to make mistakes. We're not afraid to correct our mistakes. There are several times that you would have seen a situation where, maybe a particular, list or something, and, there are complaints, valid complaints, because at the end of the day, it's not all of the criticisms that are constructive. The valid complaints we escalate to Mr. President, and we ensure that we are able to get a commitment for him to review, this policy. So, to a great extent, in marketing to a young audience, you have to understand that in marketing to a young audience, you have to preserve that key part of your message. As a young man, as a kid, maybe watching late night TV news by Auntie Abike Dabiri at 9 p.m. on NTA every night. There was a particular way with which the news was delivered that it made it very understandable and enjoyable for the generation of our parents. But that same generation today, many of our young people do not have. It's not that we hate the truth. The honest thing is that young people do not hate information. They just hate boring information. Our attention deficit is about 30 seconds at the highest. Instead of saying what efficiency reforms, because when young people hear things like this, their brain just switches off. It's not that they are not interested. It's just that this language is too technical. We can instead show a short video of how goods move faster at the ports. A video of a young Nigerian working in logistics explaining what they do in 30 seconds. Whether you accept it or not, this is where today's world has gotten. I'm very sure a lot of us have social media accounts, TikTok, Instagram, X, and you see how young people have been able to harness these platforms for good and for bad sometimes, to be able to spread the word on issues or matters that are important to them, from music to arts to social political opinion to social good and all of that. We have to come down to the level of the average Nigerian youth and speak in their language, which means that we cannot continue to assume that, because the news is boring, then we are not interested in it. Every single facet of our life is important to me. Now, we also need to figure out how to tell these stories. A fisherman, or for the want of a better word, aquaculture entrepreneur. As young people, we love big titles. We love amazing buzzwords that make us feel up there. So when people call themselves CEO, and they say, you are CEO of what? And the man will be like, I'm a CEO of a startup, chief executive officer. These are important positions. So we need to figure out how to break it down in ways that young people will understand. Simplifying the blue economy on social media. The truth is that blue economy is not complicated at all. We just explain it in complicated ways. Social media gives us a chance to break it down. Now, as somebody who is the president's image maker on social media, one of the major questions I hear every time I post about maybe a particular government policy or achievement is, how does this affect the price of rice? Thank you. So, I'm very sure you are probably one of those that left that comment. And but what this does for us is that we should be able to use to explain and break down blue economy. How does C put food on our table? It is very, very straightforward. There are a lot of young people today who predominantly live on logistics. Like they don't know it, but right now the biggest industry that young people have is not really social media. Is logistics, because everybody and their friend and their sister and their brother is either a makeup artist, or they import something from China, they import something from this one, but all of these things pass through where? The sea. So to a great extent, if you are eating anything foreign, a ship probably brought it to you, which means that you have to be interested in blue economy to understand how this sea puts food on the table. Why ports matter to the price of rice? Because sometimes you see people say, hey, so how does that concern the price of rice? It does. So if the way and manner with which we conduct our ports are done much better, the price for customs import reduces to a great extent, and that is what we have been witnessing. As at this,
essentially, for us in what we want to do is to stimulate interest in our waterways navigation. That is, instead of moving on the road, move on water. Especially for bulky goods like what you just said now, yam and some other things. If this happens, it will do a lot of things. Reduce the risk on the road and the pressure, and also the accidents that usually follow. That is just now. But B as a way, investments in water is so massive that government cannot, and I don't think they will ever be able to carry it. So the need for this kind of Parley is very, very essential. Just for the infrastructures alone, for waterways, transportation, is going into trillions. And the major part of it is what the one we call capital dredging. We are supposed to dredge 2,000 kilometers for the 4 years of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. And the funniest thing is that we will not be given a penny. Nothing has been appropriated in the budgets for us. So we've been on the lookout for people who can sponsor this capital dredging so that inland waterways transportation will be easier. And another thing that has been so much in the news concerning us is inland waterways reserves, both capsizing and some other things happening. But I will say in the last 2 years, we've done intensive sensitization and enlightenment on the need to use life jacket for anybody who is traveling inside the boat. And also, not just using life jacket, nobody should travel on boat by night because there is no headlamp or anything for you to see where you are going. And sometimes this causes accidents. These are some of the things we are doing that government is spending massively on. And the result is showing because the issue of waterway accident has seriously reduced. And we will continue to monitor what they do, where both carry people and cargo and some other things. For what the CEO of Maritime Innovation Hub said, we are on our way out. Let me call in the new people in NEWA who are carrying the torch forward. So let me call my colleague, Dr. Shuaib, to come and speak on the investment we expect for people to do on inland waterways.
We have been given opportunity now to become very, very innovative in making sure that we make progress by the opportunity given to us now in Nigeria today under the leadership of the Honorable Minister of Blue and Marine Economy. We in NEWA has the mandate to control, manage, and sustain all activities on all inland waterways that span across 28 states of the Federation. For the investors here, investors might want to ask, what is the attraction? What are the highlights? What are the new things that NEWA is bringing on board to attract investments? I will briefly give some of the highlights we have here. NEWA has in place to drive private investment in water transportation. One, we have clear legal and statutory framework. NEWA is established by an act of the National Assembly. Provide Cap N47 LFN 2004. It's a statutory powers to grant permits, concessions, and give licenses to operators that will expand opportunities and create jobs on inland waterways, which is enormous. We also leverage on bankable PPP concession frameworks. NEWA activities promotes public-private partnership for ports, jetties, and other maritime logistic hubs and waterfront infrastructure development. Our concession models also align with ICRC guideline, offering clarity for sharing what we need to do, to ensuring that National Inland Waterways Authority brings a new vista to the development of maritime infrastructure in Nigeria. We are also flexible. We have flexibility in place to build, operate, and transfer by our investors. It is designated in NIWA that National Inland Waterways Authority has the key 3 inland river ports now. We have one in Okuta in Imo State. There is a Barrow port in Niger State. There's also an ongoing thriving inland river port now in Onitsha, which is in Anambra State. All these are key assets that will attract investors to come and invest in National Inland Waterway to develop some of these key projects.
I've talked about BlackRock. We'll be working with FRS chairman and the minister himself in bringing him in. He's bringing back some of his investments into the country. There are some expatriates that, every of these conversations are at different level. So it was important also for the media to do their work and let these things go out. And from here till now, to then, from today, then the momentum doesn't stop. So people can say, we are not seeing what you are talking about. The Minister for Works, they said the port access road in and out of Apapa. And so how do we avoid 12, 15 years ago when we were talking about Lekki, that Lekki was going to become another Papa. It looks as if it's far. Lekki is already becoming a Papa. People are having problems now because of refinery. And they say another refinery is coming up. Are we supposed to have built Lekki Phase 1 and Lekki Phase 2? We're supposed to have built rail. So other states that are now building deep sea ports and all this, what lesson can they learn from Lagos failure? And how do they try not to repeat those problems? So Minister for Works is important to that conversation. Minister for Power had a port. We've talked, most of these things they've been saying it from the onset. Power, 24-hour port operation, Lomé, Togo, Côte d'Ivoire, they are doing it. Nigeria can't do it. You say you want to achieve $1 trillion GDP. How? So that's why we are bringing all those ministers. So it's not an assemblage of people for no reason. There are reasons for participating in their letter and they are responding. Keep moving. Just a very quick overview. The media is going to have the program. Keep moving. They've all received their letters. Follow up is what we are on now. I think Sadiq Olofi, we may not be able to join this conversation. I don't know. We are having problem with connectivity.
Gratitude goes to the convener of this all-important summit for giving us the opportunity and the platform to be able to explain some of the few things that NIWA is doing and have been able to accomplish these past years. It's part of the paucity of fund releases from the federal government. NIWA, as you know, is a very strategic agency of the federal government that is responsible to midwifing the management, control, and investment of all inland waterways across the country. We have a very large spread. NIWA has about 21 area offices across the country. And you also know that it will also interest you to know that NIWA, National Inland Waterways, or the Inland Water Network in Nigeria connects about 28 out of the 36 states. That is a very huge potential for investors to come in and develop. When it is properly harnessed and developed, it will reduce a lot of wreckages that happens on our road. It will also ensure low carbon emission transportation system. Inland waterway has a lot of potentials. Like if you go to some of the developed economies of the world, and particularly US, the money that is made from Mississippi River is enough to make annual budget of 3 African countries.
So what we are here to do is to enlighten the people as it concerns the privileges and the industry, which is not known to a lot of people in this country, that there's a very lucrative industry in this sector of the maritime. First, I want to thank Mr. President for establishing the Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy, because this is a sector that has been neglected for a very long time. Apart from the cabotage financing, the ministry has not
the department, the maritime sector in Nigeria, has not done well at all as a result of no good exposure of people knowing what is supposed to be doing in that industry. Today, we are here with the intention to enlighten people what the maritime industry is all about. It's not about just only Nimasa and the inland waterways. Everything that has to do with the ocean, from the Atlantic Ocean to the inland waters, is a wonderful, lucrative business that people don't know, Nigerians don't know about. The foreigners are people who are helping Nigerian industries carry out these activities. So all we know is inland waterways, what is happening between our creeks, what is happening in our international waters, where industries are making a lot of money in dollars. Every business that is taking place in that sector is discussed in dollars. And Nigerians are very few participating in this sector. And this is what we want to bring to the attention of Mr. President as it concerns how that sector should be looked into, not to allow such sector being manned and managed by foreigners.
I'm looking at from Lokoja all to this way. If goods are transported through this same very way, what are we going to gain? Imagine in Egypt alone, what they benefit through Suez Canal. Can you imagine what it is? If only we know how to handle these things, you find out at the end of the day, we are making so much money for the economy. So, but leaving it just the way it is, it doesn't really work. Just dredging through Lokoja to River State and Lagos, you know what that means for the country. So, but what we do as divers is that we'll support NIWA in removing all the wreckages on the riverway, on the waters, so that vessels can pass freely without damaging their vessels. That's what divers do. We go in there, burn off all the old vessels that are by the corner sites, making sure that the waterway is free. That's number one. We also stand as a rescue vessel for any accident on the waterway. Quickly, if you call us and the boat is there, we just move there, make sure that we secure and rescue every diver that is in every accident. Just support them and bring them out of the water immediately. That is actually what's supposed to be in developed countries. And that is what we intend that NIWA, in collaboration with associations, we could stand by as a rescue in a time of need.
With a lot said, can we also look at, from your point raised earlier about overlapping functions of NIWA and NPA, can we look at a situation where we can open up the legislations? Let's see where we need to amend and repeal certain acts that hinders some of this progress some of these things that we're looking at. So there could be bottlenecking where a very slippery slope where NIWA says that okay, we can do this. However, when we get to NPA, it becomes a problem because there's another law, that they bar them from doing certain things. So they do it to a point and stop, right? And then it's over to NPA again. So can we look at those legislations on both sides and see where we can engage the relevant Senate committee to repeal certain act that make it easy to boost investors' confidence? Because when you look at all of these things that we're talking about, these are part of the challenges that will scare investors away. And then the time that it takes, for when you want to pass a legislation and you put in your money. So uncertainty is one of those things that will scare a lot of people away. So like your sector that you did mention now, there has to be, beyond policies, there has to be a lot of body of work that would have been done, so nobody wants to, just like you're talking about exploration and exploitation. Imagine the amount of money. I mean, this is not winning oil block. When you get an oil block, you are certain that an area has been carved for you. You can now put your money and risk it all. But the situation where you are going into the oblivion, it's like going into darkness, so you don't know where you're going. You understand? And you expect that, people come and invest their money in there. So I think we need to look into some of these things.
Like what you were saying, there is no way we can work alone as an authority. Not just with your organization. There's no way. I said there is no way NIWA can work alone. We have to work with everybody. you divers, the MPA, NIMASA, Shippers Council, even with other stakeholders. Like what I wanted to say before that issue came up was there is need for us to have attitudinal change, the way we look at issues. Irrespective of the law setting up all these organizations, I believe we can find a common ground to take the country forward. So we should exploit this more instead of being very stubborn or obstinate about our position. In a situation where we know if we yield, it's going to be to the country's advantage, I believe we can do that. So not just on the part of the stakeholders, also on the part of the populace, the masses. Most people are afraid to travel on water. So we need to continue to sensitize and enlighten people that waterway transportation is safer than the road. The moment you abide with the rules and regulations guiding your movement on it, you are okay. In case there is an accident, if you have the life jacket, you will float until you are rescued. That one can happen on the road. So these are some of the things we need to emphasize and re-emphasize to the citizens and to the stakeholders that we need to collaborate and get things done in a better way.
There are a lot of conversations to have, and we cannot continue to shift the blame game. It's high time we take responsibility ourselves, and we have to do the hard work. And representing the youth constituency as well, I'll continue to engage with Dada Olusegun and the PBAT media team, because for us, this is an opportunity that we have been given to sit at the table, and we are going to grab it with both hands. So,
video I watched, the thing keep touching my heart about these young youths that try to transport their yams, and water is disturbing their canoe. I want to know, is it the responsibilities of NIWA to produce a canoe for such young youths around them, especially that local area? I'm a member of Wista International. I know that when we are doing any of our end of year something, we do donate a canoe to all these rural women. And if we can do that, why can't NIWA donate a simple canoe? I know it's very expensive, but at least help the rural ones around them. And again, if a minister, our minister recently traveled to the 36 states, at least average of 20 states or more, and donated these life jackets to save life. If we can do that, why can't NIWA help the youths around them?
I cannot donate within both, because what we are trying to do now is to phase it out. Just like they did to the Molo in Lagos. It's obsolete, it's archaic. But the thing is, we will go into a modern way of transporting all these goods we are talking about that will even be easier for the people concerned. So that is what we are looking into, and we believe with time we'll be able to do it. Thank you.
And this thing was talking to me, the manufacturer also, that they were going to make it. It's going to take 20-something days. And then later, they say it will be delivered earlier. And when they finished, do you understand? They say it's been sent by FedEx in 5 different packages. And I should make sure I see the 5 packages. Meaning both are not for the specification of something that I saw on Amazon. The person is talking to me from America, and it has arrived. Do you understand? And before that, I had bought things. If you've been to my house, you see things. It's not as if I have money. I'm doing some research on behalf of Nigeria. If all the people in Abuja are ordering on their phone furniture from Kugbo Hello, Kugbo people can send their message and say this is the specification, and they deliver at your door. It's a value chain. Meaning, sir, how do I cannot buy if things get to the port like you are saying?
You can ship them. Our problem is
No, when you ship, sir, can I move from Apapa to Bonny that you say in 2 days?
in 1 day, in 6 hours.
Buy things in America.
Yes.
They will tell you tomorrow. Before you know, evening, they will send you dispatches on the road. The logistics is so convenient.
2 things: the deliberate act of the government.
The deliberate act of the government.
And the finance.
So internally, if you don't do what NIWA is saying and what you are saying, that's why your shipping lines does not want to come.
I think I have to say.
Are you there, sir? This is economic conversation. How do you make it easier for things to come to your country, and it gets there inside the country? It can move.
On the waterway.
In their coast.
In their coast. They have a straight water coast that enter into the town. So, and I told him that I have something like that. I would like to partner with him in Nigeria. He asked me two questions. Where to where?
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
He asked me where to where will he fly the boats. So I now said that Lokoja to Port Harcourt. So even that's even the question I was trying to ask him now. Say, is Lokoja to Port Harcourt or through Owerri or anywhere? Is it true? He said only on high tide.
It's not navigatable.
No. I know what I'm trying to say. And I'm talking to you, and I have a partner. Not tomorrow, yesterday. We were talking. No. The reason I'm trying to make this is because the money we want to make is in our foot. It's not far from us. It's just for us to take the necessary legislations.
I can send this conversation to the minister.
And dredge that place. At once we dredge that place, the companies will come. Because they are looking for business to do, and they are partnering with us to get it done. They want to come, the vessels are there. Some of them don't even have goods to carry for whole 30 days. Their boats don't even make one trip. So why would they see where they will make 1,000 trip and will not come? They want to come. So I want to say that this dredging issue on this internal waterway should be put newer.
Not only newer. The only place that is being dredged daily in this country is Lagos and Bonny River, and the reason is because of the seaport. It's happening not just for only Nimasa, it's happening in their country. The dredging problem is a big deal. If you don't dredge those channels in 1 year, the channel will close. You understand? So they are dredging. Even LNG now is having problem to get dredgers to dredge the channel for vessels to come and bat and load gas. Seplat and LNG, their neighbors, all of them are in the same Bonny Island. Sand is blocking the place. Federal government will only dredge the channel. They will not dredge their own side. So they are putting up advertisement to get a dredging company to dredge the area. It's a big problem. So the idea, then secondly, for another information, the channels, internal roads coming to Lokoja and all the rest, it's not a tidal river. It's a one-way river. Yeah. So there's no tide. The only time the water goes up is when there is rain. But some of them, they are experts, but they don't understand it. They are experts, but they don't understand. Yes, but they don't understand that it's not a tidal water. Tidal water is where the ocean goes and comes. So you wait when it's high tide, you now move. This particular area, the water is one way. It's just coming from Niger to pass to River Niger and end up in Niger Delta. There's no time the water will ever go up. The only time the water goes up is when it rains heavily. When it rains heavily and the dam overflow, the water now comes up. Otherwise, the water is a one way. So it's not called tidal water.
We are one family now, and the conversation has started, and it has to continue. We will not stop because we have a vision. You know, we are building this towards the event in March that will take place at the Eco Hotel, where we expect that the people who will be in the room to listen to some of these challenges that we have thrown open and proffer solutions, you know, to pull out the funds wherever it will be on the table on that day, you know, to do justice to some of these things. So on behalf of the Maritime Innovations Hub, I say a very big thank you for honoring this invitation and attending this media parley, and we look forward to further engaging you. Thank you very much.